WTF? You know, sometimes those live just started without my permission. And I'm like, whoa, I went live. Oh, shoot. I forgot to hit this. Oh, now it's a profiler ending. Oh, now it's a profiler start. You see, this is what happens with live. But I'm glad you're here. What a nightmare. Okay, then. Okay. No one said I was good with electronics. I'm a criminal profiler. Give me a break. Okay. What a mess. Okay, I just came back from seeing Encanto with my granddaughter. So I had like raced in from, we went to the movie theater. We did the 3D glasses. We saw Encanto, which is a lovely, lovely story. And, you're in 3D and it's all really cool. And then I had to race home. And then I'm like, where am I? What am I doing? Oh my God. Yes, I have a show to do. So hello, Lisa. Hello, Florence. Hello, Leah. Oh my God. I've got all my favorite people are here. Okay. So this is going to be a really interesting case. And for good reason, because it's so bizarre. The people can't figure out whether this dude over here is a killer or whether this is a killer. I mean, when have you ever heard of an owl being accused of being the killer? That's kind of unusual. Okay, but this is where we're at. And it is an absolutely fascinating story. Oh, thank you, Martin. Martin says, can see and hear. I have got you all trained because if you're new to this channel, this is live. So, a lot of times I don't know if the transmission is proper, whether people can see and hear me. So I thank you for being so good as to say that without me having to ask. Yes, you can see and hear. Fantastic. All right. So, oh my God, there's so many cool people here. Molly, Matthew, Liz, Leah. Oh, I'm excited. Florence. Oh my, Helen. Oh my God. This is really fun. Ms. Leah says, Ms. Leah says, I'm happy you raised home so I can be listening while doing my therapy session notes. I have never objected to being listened to while you're in the car, while you're cooking dinner, while you're like bored out of your mind. You don't always have to see my face. I'm not going to say beautiful face. You can see my face. And you can listen to my show and it keeps you awake for whatever you've got to go through, like cleaning your house, which I just hire people. So I don't ever have to listen to people like me to clean my house. But this is so cool. I love my subscribers. I love my friends. Y'all make this worth doing because, as y'all know, okay, so let me do the needful because I got to do the needful. Okay, wait a minute. I got to do the needful. Okay, because I have wonderful friends and wonderful subscribers, and I have people at Patreon who support me. But in reality, YouTube is trying to help me out, but at the same time, they're kind of like stabbing me in the back because they have this whole thing about ads where it's, if you talk about something we think is untoward, we're going to demonetize you. So pretty much everything I say is untoward because it's about crime. It's about murder. So they're like not so happy. I want to do something about my cat, but okay, I can't do something about my cat, and so they demonetize me. So what's really cool is over here, I want to point out Patreon. I have the best supporters in Patreon who will support my channel regardless of YouTube. On YouTube, you're still good, but these people support me even if you demonetize me. And if you go at the third level, you can actually join me in the Hangouts during the midweek, which is lots of fun. And if you you don't want to put out any money, it's okay. You can just subscribe, share with people, because if you share with people, it does help my channel because more people come and then they see some of my videos actually monetize. So at some point I can survive, and you can always buy books. Okay, that's it. I'm done with that shit. Did I say shit? Oh, shit. Okay. All right. Okay. I'm trying to be good. Oh my God, Benny. Betty says, I'm a fan from Denmark. Oh my God. Okay. I have to put this up here just because I have to put this up there. I can't believe Benny, you're from, Timson. I don't know. I don't think I said that right. Benny, I lived in Denmark for 6 months of my life in Albertslund. I can say great things like, it's pitiful, I know. But I want you to know, I was the only person to pass my Danish test. I lived there for 6 months. I went to the university. I passed my Danish test only because we found a stash of Tuborg beer in the professor's house, and everybody drank it. And I was the last person to actually do my test, and I was really drunk. So, I don't know who, Benny, if you understand the fact that we Americans think that all of you like slur your words. So by the time I was totally drunk, I was like, yeah, I was like so that I was told I had a great accent. I was the highest scorer on the test. Go figure. Just a funny thing. Okay, that has nothing to do with this case, but it's funny. All right, let's go to the case before you all. What? Matthew said lots of left. Lots of LOL. Definitely demonetized now. I'm like this. I really want to be monetized, but I really want to do a show just for you guys, and whatever happens, happens. Okay, so let's go to the case because, that's what you're here for. So I'm going to go to the case. All right, so this is a really freaking fascinating case. So let's go back. I'm finished with my little spiel here. Okay, so over here we have Michael Peterson. Over here we have an owl. You're like, why is there an owl? If you don't know this case, you don't know about the owl, and you probably don't know much about Michael Peterson. Okay, I'm going to flip around my screen here, which puts a glare on my glasses. Well, I'm going to explain to you it from Wikipedia because, I always use Wikipedia, and people are like, why do you use Wikipedia? Because I'm lazy. And it's just enough information that works. Okay, so I'm going to read you the Wikipedia point on what this whole case is about. One of the funniest things about this Wikipedia article is it says Michael Peterson, that dude. It says criminal after it. Now, when you go to my Wikipedia page, it doesn't say criminal profiler. It says author. I'm like, no, I'm a criminal profiler first, author second. Thank you very much. So apparently, this dude used to be he was an author and he was a journalist, but apparently he turned into a criminal. So anyway, Michael Peterson, criminal. Michael Peterson is an American novelist. Oh, at least they gave him that. Who was convicted in 2003 of murdering his second wife, Kathleen Peterson, on December 9th, 2001. After 8 years, Peterson was granted a new trial after the judge ruled a criminal prosecution witness gave misleading testimony. In 2017, Peterson submitted an Alford plea to the reduced charge of manslaughter, and he was sentenced to time already served and freed. Okay, if you don't know what an Alford plea is, basically an Alford plea says, yeah, I did it, you can prove it, but I didn't really necessarily do it, but you can prove it. That's what he went. But he's like, I want to get out of prison. Peterson's case is the subject of the documentary miniseries The Staircase, which started filming soon after his arrest in 2001 and followed events until his eventual Alford plea in 2017. I forgot to put it below. By the time some other people look at this video, I'll put it below. The Netflix series called The Staircase. Actually very fascinating. They started filming during the actual process because I was like, is this a reenactment or is this actually happening? And it turned out it was actually happening. So it was really interesting. Not for the reason they wanted to be interesting for, but I'm going to point that out. So there was this staircase. They did this whole Netflix thing, which they followed the entire defense, not the prosecution, but the entire defense as they were preparing for trial. And then after that, he wrote, let's see what it says here. In 2019, he released his own account of his life since his wife's death in an independently published memoir called Behind the Staircase. I bought that, so you don't have to. Boring, incredibly boring, couldn't read it. But I'm going to tell you, there's one statement in there I'm going to bring up, which is Absolutely stunning. Absolutely stunning. So if you're new to my channel, you've never watched me, and you think some people say I'm like, just blather on. Hang in, because I'm going to tell you what is important about this one statement, which is shocking, absolutely stunningly shocking, unbelievable. So anyway, I bought, what's it called? Behind the Staircase. I bought that book. I did not finish reading the book because okay, but the beginning was interesting. Also, I want to tell you what else I looked at. So I watched, because sometimes people wonder what I do before these shows, and it's very important to do some research. I watched Netflix documentary. Okay, I kind of quit like numbers. I have to confess, I quit like, I think it was number 7, because I was really like done. And then I read as much as I needed to from his book. And then I read, I listened to part of, because one of my wonderful subscribers told me to check this out. And one of my wonderful friends at Patreon is where you can join in. And then if you support my channel on Patreon, not only just to support just to support this channel in general, but if you go up to level 3, you can join in my hangouts. And this is one of my wonderful hangout friends who comes to my hangout every week. And she had great stuff. And she said, watch Beyond a Reasonable Doubt by the BBC. And I did. And that was very interesting as well. Some prosecutors talking about the whole case. Very interesting. So and then the other thing I looked at and read, I read totally. So, you want to know where people get their sources. Okay, hold on a second. Okay. I'm so well prepared. Okay. This is Diane Fanning. Diane Fanning has been a friend of mine. Not like a close friend, but we used to do Nancy Grace. We had a blog we did together that she was part of Women in Crime Inc. Diane's really cool. And she's one of the few true crime authors I don't think suck. You don't suck, Diane. So she wrote this book called Written in Blood, a true story of murder and a deadly 16-year-old secret that tore a family apart. This is about the Michael Peterson case. So I read that too. Okay, so I just want you to know, and I read that in the entirety. I want to point out, because people don't understand this, I'm outside this case. I would love to have every shred of evidence in this case. I want to look at the police files. I want to see everything in the autopsy. I want to see everything. I didn't get it because I'm outside the case. So I've got this Netflix documentary, which is totally pro-defense. And even though the guy who made it said it wasn't pro-defense, afterwards he said, yeah, I thought it was innocent. So it's very pro-defense. And then Diane Fanning's book is definitely not so in favor of Michael Peterson. In other words, she kind of like indicates she thinks he did it. And then the BBC thing is like, so there's interesting inputs. But it's not the police. I don't have access to everything. And what I'm getting is different people's viewpoints. And so I want you to understand this. We on the outside, even criminal profilers, just have what we have. So anyway, before I go on, I want to just give you a quick rundown. Okay, so anyway, so we have Peterson and we have the owl. Now you say, what does the owl have to do with it? Okay, let's go back, because the owl is not here yet. Okay, some of you are going into things that, I do point that out. Infinite Jeb says, killers love the Alford plea. If you don't know what an Alford plea is, it's basically where you say, you got the evidence, but I didn't do it. And that way you get out early, but you can still claim, I only took the Alford plea because I didn't want to stay in prison any longer because I was innocent. But that's a good point. Okay, so, oh my God, we got a Durham person. Hello from North. I'm not even going to try Durham, in fact. I'm okay with that. So we have locals. All right, so, oh my God. Benny, you are so kind. My Danish sucks. Here's my Danish. I would go into a baker and say, "Jeg vil have en rugbrød." And I don't think I even come close to saying that correctly. It is the most difficult language ever. Love you guys, but that language, my God almighty. All right, so let's get to the story. All right, let me get to what happened, because some of you don't know what happened. And, the small explanation doesn't do it any like real justice. So let me tell you about Michael Peterson. Okay, so this is really complicated. Okay, so, oh my God, let me get this off the screen. Okay, although I appreciate you appreciating my really shitty Danish. Okay, I'm just monetized again. All right, so who do we have? This is complicated, and it's important to understand because it has a lot to do with whatever is going on here. Okay, this is Michael Peterson. Now, Michael Peterson, to let you know, was not originally married to Kathleen. He was married to a woman named Patty. Now, Patty and Michael had 2 children, 2 boys, Todd and Clayton. Okay, they had 2 boys. They lived a lot of times in Germany. And then Patty and Michael eventually got divorced. I'm not going to go into all that because it's very complicated. Read Diane Fanning's book if you want the complication issue. Okay, so while he not yet married to Kathleen, while he was in Germany with his wife Patty and his 2 sons. Okay, this happened. Let me see if I can find what happened next. It's really complicated. Okay, so he see this couple here. I mean, I got to find it because it's not easy. Is this it? Shoot. Okay, this is it. Okay, you see this couple? They live nearby, like next door, and apparently he was also in the military, so he was a military man, and he was married to this lovely lady. I think her name was Liz, and then he had this baby, and he ended up getting knocked off in Grenada. Isn't that like the invasion of Grenada? It's hard to understand, but he didn't get knocked off actually in action. Something else weird happened to him. I don't think it has anything to do with this case, but the case is so weird that this is weird too. But anyway, he's out of the picture. Okay, he's gone. She's left, and she's left with this child, and she also is pregnant. She has another child, so she has 2 daughters. So they live next to them. So anyway, Patty and Michael live next to these 2, and unfortunately, in a very sad situation, the woman who is left taking care of these 2 daughters ends up falling down this particular staircase in Germany. I'll get back to that. I will get back to that. So meanwhile, because she fell down the staircase, Michael Peterson decides to adopt. Well, he doesn't actually adopt. This gets very confusing again. These 2 girls, I think is it Martha there? Martha and Margaret. Those are the 2 girls. So he actually takes on their care, and which is one of the things that really confuses people, because it seems like what kind of guy takes 2 orphans in, 2 girl orphans in. That's sweet. He is, So he took these 2 girls in, and so he had these 2 girls. So he and Patty now had these 2 boys and these 2 girls. So they have 4 kids, but there's a whole lot of weird stuff going on there, which you'll find in Diane Fanning's book, which you won't find in the Netflix documentary, The Staircase, because they leave all that out. But anyway, okay, so now he and Patty have some issues, his wife and him. So she's in Germany with the 2 dudes, and he keeps the 2 girls. Weird? Okay, it is weird. And anyway, meanwhile, he meets Kathleen. So Kathleen has, is that her daughter? This daughter. Okay, so he has this daughter. She has this daughter before she meets Michael. And then somehow, after Patty and Michael end up divorced, he ends up back with everybody. He ends up with all 5 kids. So this is the super happy photo of Michael, Kathleen, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 children. Awesome. So somehow when they grow up, they all end up sort of all around him. So looking like a pretty good dude. All right. So now, where do we go from here? Okay, so he's got this huge family, and it sounds really sweet and all that. So now let me go to what happened. So anyway, everything seems to be going really good. I mean, He and Kathleen have been married for a number of years. They seem to be super happy. All the kids like the couple. I mean, they like them. They like Kathleen. They like Michael, which is in a blended family, you got to say, is pretty freaking unusual. So you got to give them credit for that. So, but then what happens? Okay, so then there comes this. What day is this? Okay. So Kathleen Peterson dies on December 9th, 2001. How does she die? Okay, so the story is, which changes, by the way. The claim by Michael Peterson is that he and Kathleen had spent a lovely evening together. They watched a movie they picked out, had a lovely time watching a movie. They were drinking wine and shit, a couple bottles of it. And then they were out by the pool because Michael is kind of like a pipe smoker. You know, he's kind of an intellectual dude, like smoking a pipe by the pool. Lovely, lovely. And they're by the pool. And then somewhere she says, I'm going in. Well, because it's not all that warm that night. So you're like, why is he out in a pair of shorts and a shirt by the pool, freezing his ass off? And she decides to go in. And then at some point, like many minutes later, he decides to roll on into the house where he finds his wife lying at the bottom of a staircase. Now, okay, I'm going to be a little careful about my pictures. Okay. Two things get me demonetized. One is if I put up any videos that apparently are like swiped from something else. So then they're like, you stole that. You don't have, don't have the copyrights for that. And then you get booted off the channel. Because I do live, they boot you off really quick, as opposed to if you do tape video. So I'm really cautious. And I don't like showing crime scene photos because that also like demonetizes me. But I don't know how I'm going to show you this case without this. So anyway, see this staircase? So supposedly, Michael comes in and he finds his wife. I'm not going to show you the picture of his wife at the bottom of the staircase because it's very bloody. And you see her lying there. Her feet are bloody. Like the top of her shorts, the abdomen is really bloody. It's a very, very bloody scene. I'm trying to avoid showing crime scene photos. So, but this is the staircase that he claims, when he calls 911, he says she fell down the staircase. This is supposedly the staircase. Now, you can see there's a lot of blood down. I'm sorry, I hit my table. A lot of blood down at the bottom of the staircase. So clearly, it's a frightening scene. And what's interesting to me is that when he finds her body, there's blood on her abdomen. There's blood everywhere. There's blood everywhere. Now, for a dude who's supposed to be unfamiliar with homicide, unfamiliar with how people die, he immediately tells 911 she fell down the staircase. Now, I don't know, but if I found my significant other lying on the floor, not on the staircase, but lying on the floor with a massive amount of blood around them, the first thought I might think is, who the hell is in my house? Who killed them? Who attacked them? I would think somebody got into the house and did something to them. But Michael Peterson immediately says she fell down the staircase. Really? Why would you jump to that conclusion? I mean, because a dude who might have killed your wife might still be in the house. You should be terrified at this point because you're seeing a massive amount of blood and you've jumped to the conclusion she fell down the staircase. That is one of the things that really bothered the police right away. So she supposedly fell down the staircase while he was out at the pool. Now, I wonder, this is interesting. In the Netflix documentary, I want to point out about the Netflix documentary. What's it called again? The Staircase. Fascinating documentary. I recommend everybody watch it. Not for the reasons people think they should watch it, which is to find out whether Michael Peterson is innocent or not innocent, but because it shows you what the defense will go through when they're highly paid, mind you, massive, amount of money, what they'll go through to prove their client innocent. And this is one of the reasons, again, I rail about the civilian jury system, because you get 12 people off a bus stop. That's what I always call it. Not meaning to say that the 12 people are necessarily unintelligent, but just you don't know who the hell they are. And the defense spends a lot of time, first of all, picking out the jury, then they do these really interesting things where they'll put like 12 people in a room and they'll say to them, here's some information, and then they see how they react. So they're trying to figure out what information will get them to react the proper way. They're not interested in the truth, they're just interested in how they can convince the jury, which offends the hell out of me, because I've always thought that our judicial system should be about the truth. And that applies to the prosecution as well. I don't want conniving creeps on either side trying to snow the jury. I want the evidence presented as evidence, which is why I believe in a professional jury that cannot be, fooled by either side. But it's interesting, as you go through this whole process, you see how much the defense is trying to snow the jury. I'm sure that the prosecution is trying to do the same, but the defense has a whole lot of money, so they spend a whole lot of time hiring experts and doing jury practices and all these things to try to figure out how to snow the jury, because they know the jury doesn't know shit, because the jury is not trained. The jury doesn't know anything. The jury is just a bunch of people off the street who you're trying to convince one thing or the other. So they're trying to convince the jury that he was out they do this really thing in Netflix. So Michael Peterson supposedly sitting after his wife says, I'm kind of done. I'm going to go upstairs. Michael's smoking his pipe and hanging out by the pool, kind of freezing his ass off because it's kind of cold out there. And he's like in shorts and a shirt. Like, it's kind of like too cold for that. But maybe he's one of those, kind of guys. Let me read you, however, what he said to okay, hold on a second. I got to find it because, all right. Where is it? Where's the statement? Okay, here we go. Okay, so when the medics were there, they asked her age, and they asked him, how long had it been since her fall? Get this. Mike Peterson only said, I just went outside to turn out the lights and came in. That's not what he says in Netflix. It's like 45, 50 minutes. They have a whole audio thing where she's laying on the stairs inside screaming, help, help. And nobody can hear her outside because, see that fountain? That fountain's noisy. And Michael's like enjoying his pipe. He can't hear shit. So he doesn't know his wife is dying at the bottom of the stairs from her fall. So, but interesting enough, what does he tell the medics? I just went outside to turn out the lights and came in. Okay, now we're talking about a minute. Something's fishy about this. And that's what the police noted in spite of whatever else he had to say. So anyway, so now we have an issue of he has been, he's the only person in the house at the time this happens. There's a question of, could it be an intruder? Well, if you were Michael Peterson and you found your wife bleeding to death on the bottom of the stairs with massive blood around her, my first thought would be maybe somebody got in here and hurt my wife. Apparently, he didn't think that at all. He just thought she fell down the stairs. Why? Because if he says she's been murdered, I think somebody attacked her, then people are going to say, is there any proof there was an intruder? Or are you the only one? Oh, shit. I don't want people to look at me. Okay, she fell down the stairs. So that, again, attracted the attention of the police. His statement. It was just weird, So, but, I always point out weird does not mean guilty. Okay, so now we come to a bunch of other issues. All right. I'm going to get into how she died. Should I get into it now or should I get into it later? Okay. So, at any rate, one of the problems with this case is how she died. I'll say how she died. So the question is, did she fall down the stairs or not? All right, now here's the stairs. I want to show you the stairs because it is really important. See these stairs? Okay, those are the stairs. See all the blood at the bottom of the stairs? That's where shit happened. What do you see over here? What is that? Somebody tell me. I'm gonna go out of my thing so I can see you answer this. Tell me, what was that? What was that? What is this over here? What do you call that? I don't know what you call it down there. Do you call it a handrail or do you call it a banister? What do you call it? She got this is the problem. You call it a handrail. Okay. If she were at the top of the stairs, way up, not there, way up here at the top of the stairs, and she's coming down the stairs and she starts to fall, the question is, why doesn't she grab for the handrail? So that's a problem. Second problem is if she actually falls all the way down these stairs by accident, she would have different injuries than ever came up. There would be injuries to her body as well as her head. And only injuries really were mostly in her head. So what the hell happened all the way down the stairs? Why did she grab the rail? Why did she have damage to her body, like other things on her arms and legs, whatever she was falling? There was a no. Okay, I want to point this out. Infinite Jeff, wasn't she drunk? She was not. She was under the level. Now, mind you, when people say people are drunk, people drive all the time when they're, quote, over the line. They're not really as drunk as people say they are. They're just, they're a little happy. A lot of times they drive perfectly fine. So the issue of, was she so drunk that she couldn't control herself? Now, there were supposedly some other issues about other things she have in her system, and I'll get to that. Because what happened is the original thought would be she fell down the staircase, boom, 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 really bad, like, you're falling down the staircase. But everything was so down here that even the defense got rid of she fell all the way down the staircase. They got rid of that really quickly. So the question is, I vote for being a banister. I grew up a banister. I'm from New Jersey originally. I was always a banister. I don't know when it became a handrail, but there you go. So let's go to, so supposedly, I wish I could show you actually the picture of her bottom, but I'm not going to do that. So what happened? I'll show you the prosecution's. Is it this? Oh shoot, that's not it. Hold on a second. I'm looking for it. That's not it either. Shoot, there it is. Okay, this is the prosecution's. The prosecution by the guy was a guy named Devers. And later on, when they attacked him, and that's one of the reasons they had this. What was it called? The judge ruled a critical prosecution witness gave misleading testimony. This was the Devers dude who talked about all of this. The stairs. Okay, I'm going to say the Devers dude sucked. I'm not saying he wasn't good about some of the stuff he said, but he had a horrible personality, and he just came off like a dick. I mean, he did, and so apparently he left out certain information. So that's what the defense always uses to get an appeal. But anyway, these are basically steps. You see, so there's a door here, and I want you to notice that there's a stair rail, but there's also hold on a second. I gotta swing back here. There's also, when she comes down those stairs. Let me go back to the previous photo. Okay. The hand banister, in my opinion, but okay, we're going to go handrail down here that she could have grabbed, but down at the bottom, you see those steps that are kind of, when you get to here, they go on those weird angle things. There's not a banister there. So that's where now both the prosecution and the defense say everything happened, but they think of it in a different way. So what they say is, the prosecution says she was beaten down here with an implement. And the defense says she was actually trying to get up the steps and fell down the steps. Like she got up 3 steps and went, and she fell over. Then she tried to get up and she fell over. Henry Lee was one of their defense witnesses. And I have to say, Henry is funny as hell, but that was like the worst explanation of how she could have died I've ever seen. Let me show you a basic picture of her head. Okay, this is okay. So she sustained these injuries on her head. These are called lacerations. A laceration comes from blunt force trauma. Here, this is what they're assuming it came from blunt force trauma. So blunt force trauma, this one, and this one, and this one, and this one, and this one. A lot of blunt force trauma. Blunt force trauma. Now, blunt force trauma can happen from falling down the steps. It can. You can crack your head on those damn, the edge of the steps. You can crack your head on them, or somebody can beat you with an implement. blunt force trauma. What was interesting about this case was, and this is why it's such a confusing case, there was blunt force trauma. Nobody argues that. There are lacerations here. Nobody argues that. The problem is there's no fractures to the skull and there's no damage to the brain. Now, usually when somebody takes an implement and beats the living hell out of you, you end up with fractures to your head and brain trauma. This didn't exist. On the other hand, those weird, the way those are straight down really doesn't go with falling down a staircase either. Even if you slip and fall backwards, it ain't working. I mean, it's just, it doesn't work. So, one hand, the prosecution is presenting a case where they're saying she's being beaten, but why doesn't she have? The defense is saying, why doesn't she have more, like fractured skull and all that? And then the defense is saying, oh, she fell down the staircase, but that doesn't match either. So everybody's like, that's where the case gets really bizarre. Okay, so now it's a really complicated case. Now, going back to Germany, the last person seen with this woman named Liz, who was a family friend, was Michael Peterson. Apparently, she fell down the staircase. At the time, it was labeled an accident, that she had an aneurysm when she's only 30, and she fell down the staircase. After the aneurysm happened, then she just collapsed. Now, the prosecution for in this particular case, the prosecution in the U.S. exhumed her body in a very spectacular thing, which you'll see on Netflix, and came to the conclusion that she actually had lacerations on her head that were the result of a homicidal event. So now everybody's saying, what are the chances? Michael Peterson was at both of these scenes, the last person to see the person alive, and both of these women died on a staircase. They were both found at the bottom of the staircase with issues, lacerations to their hip. Now, the reason I don't want to get into the German case is because when Netflix put this case up, they put up, I think, 3 witnesses that said they saw tons of blood at the bottom. They had to scrub it off the walls. But the German prosecution, the military guys there, said that they never even noted any blood, said it was an accidental death or a natural death, actually. I find it interesting that it's so different that the military would say there was never mentioned blood, and then these 3 witnesses would scrub it off the walls for days. I think that's odd. But I just don't know what to make of it because I can't talk to these witnesses myself. I don't know if they had it in for Peterson or the military just wanted to bury this case quickly. So they just said, natural death. We're not going to even talk about it. I don't know which way to go with this because I don't have the ability to get into this information. So I'm going to take this case, which is now a lot of people say, well, lightning doesn't strike twice. So how the hell would Michael Peterson be at these both events? Both the women died and he's not responsible. I'm going to take this case and toss it, not because I don't think it has importance, but because I can't access proper information on it. So now we come down to the choices that we have in the Michael Peterson case. We have 3 choices. Okay, let's look at them. Accidental death, homicide by an implement, and an owl. Now, before I get to the owl, I'm going to go with the accidental death. It's really hard for me to come up with accidental death because when she's falling down the stairs, I can't even falling. She's supposedly climbing up the stairs. She's falling backwards. She's slipping. She's falling backwards. I can't come up with those injuries to her. I can't. I'm having trouble with this one. Now, let's talk about the implement because this was a big part of the trial. They talked about a thing called a blow poke. And I ran out of space, so I'm going to just show you the picture. Okay. So can you see that? That is the sister of Mrs. Peterson saying she gave this blow poke to her sister, and it was by the fireplace. Now, if you don't know what a blow poke is, look at the 2 words. You blow and you poke. So it's a long instrument that you can keep your fire going by going, and then it blows the what do you call this thing? Cinders. I said tinders. What the hell is that? Cinders. Is that right? Or is it tinders? What the hell? Do you have tinder to make cinders? Tinders? Yeah. Somebody tell me before I make a total ass of myself. Tinders to make cinders, right? So I'm going to get to, okay, I got something I got to say later. Okay, so you blow this and then you poke it. I'm assuming this is what it means. And you poke the fire around. So you keep it going, essentially, and you poke it around. There was a missing blow poke. In other words, there was a fireplace and there was a blow poke that was not there. And apparently the sister said that she had given this to she loved these blow pokes. So she gave everybody in the family as a gift a blow poke. And it wasn't there. So the prosecution glommed onto this as being the murder weapon. Now, embers, kindling. Okay, cinders is right. You can clearly see I was not a Girl Scout. Okay. Really bad with fires. I have this wonderful fireplace behind me. You push the button, and the little electric fire comes up, and then I sit there and I'm mesmerized. I'm like, oh, it's so pretty. I'm like, it's not even real, but it's so pretty. And I don't have to do anything with it. So I'm totally with electric. So there was this missing blow poke. So the prosecution glommed onto this as being the weapon. The reason they decided this could be the weapon, and it's a very good reason, is that if you hit somebody with like a crowbar, right, you're gonna fracture their skull. There's no way around it. You're like beating them with a crowbar, you're gonna fracture their skull. A very heavy instrument. It's there's going to be a fracture. So they're trying to get at how do you hit somebody enough times to cause some heavy bleeding, but no fracture. So the blow poke is, as you can see, because you can blow through it, has a space in between, which takes away the power that it has. It can still hurt you, but it's going to take away that power. Which is a good point, but they don't have the actual supposed implement that committed this crime. Now I'm gonna talk about, there's two different things, and I think that the defense has a point, and I think that the prosecution has a point. Okay, let me see if I can find the right one this time. Yeah, there we go. Okay, the defense says if you have a long implement like that, and it is really a really look at this location. It's not that big an area. How do you actually beat the hell out of her with a blow poke? Now I'm going to show you the size of a blow poke. Okay, because I don't have a blow poke because I have an electric fireplace, but I have this, which is about the same size as electric blow poke, which is, did I say electric blow poke? A real blow poke that's not electric. This is this is what I use for hiking, and you put it in the ground, it keeps you from falling on your face. Okay, so this is a really cool hiking instrument. You can see the Lecky hiking. Please get one of these. It's awesome. I don't have it in the links below, but you can get two of these. And when you're going down a mountain, you don't kill yourself, especially if you're older. Anyway, all right. So essentially, let's call this a blow poke. And you go, okay. Like the blow poke, this is hollow inside. So if you're actually hitting somebody, you may not fracture the skull, but you could cause a laceration on their skull. Now, I agree to some extent with the defense that this is a freaking long thing. And if you're trying to beat somebody with this, it's a lot of work to beat them with this very long thing. And it doesn't fit really well in that location. Let me show you something else. Okay, because this is, see this? Okay, now, look how short this is. Now, with this, it's still hollowish. But I can beat the living crap out of somebody in a small location. And also, it's interesting that it isn't necessarily that he always had to beat her over the head like this. He could also beat sideways, depending on which way her head was laying. He could beat this way. This is an object. If you had enough time before you called 911, you could easily wash this sucker off, and you could put it back wherever the heck it came from. So I don't know. I can't say a blow poke was used to kill her, but I also can't say this kind of object couldn't have been used to kill her. A smaller object that he had time to wash off and put back or hide or whatever, or give away to his son who showed up incidentally at the proper time. I had a case where a guy, I believe, killed his mother, but his cousin showed up and I believe he handed the knife off to his cousin, and his cousin went and ditched it. And then there he was at the crime scene finding his, dead mother, and there was no weapon there. So was the blow poke a weapon or the weapon? Could have been. They found a blow poke eventually in his, they found a blow poke in his possession. I think it was in a garage, and it was full of cobwebs and shit. So it's obviously didn't look like it could be the blow poke that would have killed her because it wasn't well used. So the defense made a big deal of this, saying, hey, see, here's the blow poke and it wasn't it. We don't actually know that was the blow poke. I don't know how much, I don't know how much he particularly made fires and that he used a blow poke. I mean, I have made fires before in my old fireplace, and I never even knew what a blow poke was. I just made fires, and then I pushed him around with some other pokey thing, but it wasn't a blow poke. I've never even heard that term before. Maybe if you're fancy human beings and you own $1 million house, you know what a blow poke is. Me, I have no clue. So anyway, they don't actually know what caused her lacerations. So, did her lacerations come from being falling and slammed against the steps like Henry Lee would believe? Well, it's kind of funny because Henry Lee says, well, she definitely wasn't an implement, he says. She wasn't hit. Her head went, and then her head went, and then her head went. And I'm like, in that case, why couldn't Michael Peterson just take his hands and go whack, 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 whack? Why can't he do that? And it makes more sense that he would have done that than she fell and accidentally hit her head in all these places. Because even if you're falling, a lot of times it's not that much. You don't really hit with that. You don't hit that hard. You don't, especially if it's falling. They're saying from like three stairs up. We're not talking about the whole stairs. You fall down a bunch of stairs, you whack your head. You can, I can see you open up your, you can do some real damage. You fall from 3 steps up and you go whack. Okay, I've hit my head lots of times, and I didn't have lacerations from a small fall or a small hit. But if somebody takes my head and whacks it into the stairs in that exact same place, I'm going to say you're going to have lacerations. So Henry Lee, thank you for showing us how her head could go like this. But if that's true, then I'm going to say Michael Peterson made her head go like this. The other possibility is Michael Peterson used an implement. And I don't know what kind of implement, but I would go with possibly a shorter implement than they suspected. And who knows what that implement could be. Now I'm at the point where I'm like, okay, I don't come up with accidental death. I just haven't found it. So now we're down to it wasn't accidental in the sense that her wounds didn't seem to be that way. I'm going to get to the owl in a little bit because I know everybody's waiting for the owl. But let's look at motive first, because motive is very, very important in this case. And I'm going to show you something I think nobody has paid attention to. I don't understand why this isn't like a huge, huge deal. But this is the point about having multiple sources. Okay, I'm going to first, let me see if I can figure out how to do this. Some of you wonder why sometimes I don't play video anymore. It's because I played video once and I immediately got nailed by YouTube for violation of policy. And if I do that on live a couple times, I'm like off the air. And I don't want to take the risk. So what I'm going to do, see if it works. Okay, what I'm going to do is I want to play you. I hope it'll be in the right place. Hold on a second. I got to find where I started. Okay, go here. Okay. I'm going to play you a piece from Netflix without putting it on my channel. I'm going to put it next to the mic. I hope you can hear it. Here, they asked him. Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Hold on a second. Let me go back. Okay. I'm assuming people know stuff. So no, I want this. Okay. So now one of the issues of motive. First of all, there is a financial motive, and some people have pointed that out. He had done well in the past selling. He actually made like $600,000 on an advance from one of his publishers. I'm going to say that's damn fine, because you don't usually get that these days. But he was having financial issues at the time that Kathleen was murdered their finances gone to hell. He wasn't making good money. He also had she was going downhill in money, and they were spending a boatload of money. And if you actually look at Netflix and see his house, oh my God, that is a fancy ass house. I mean, they have beautiful stuff everywhere. Michael Peterson loved beautiful things. I mean, he did love beautiful things. He didn't seem to want to live without them, and he loved his stuff. So all of a sudden, they were possibly going to lose their house. They couldn't get their kids in. The college issues were there. They were in debt credit-wise. But if his wife died, he got a lot of money. He did. So that was definitely a motive. You can't ignore that motive. Now, I want to point out something about lying. He is a fiction writer. And I'm going to say, outside of his book, which really sucked on this case, I don't know about his other books, but he has a good way of expressing things, very emotional. And so his books apparently attracted attention about the Vietnam War and all of that, because he supposedly was over there. And he also ran for like mayor in his town. He was a journalist in his town. He wrote columns and stuff. A very, very aggressive guy, saying the police were bad and these people were bad and these people. He's like, but he also told. So the question is, does he lie? And this is very important. So apparently, when he was running in his town for office, he said that he had like some medals for in the war, which weren't actually. He never did get them. And he also said he was injured in the Vietnam War. Something blew up and he was injured, but that turned out to be a lie too. He was actually injured in a vehicle accident in Japan. So he lied. And what's interesting about his lies to me is the way he responded to the lies. He's like, oh, well, yeah, things happen. Basically, yeah, I did lie, but okay, let's go on. Psychopaths do that. I'm not going to say he's a psychopath, but also narcissists do that, where they're able to tell a lie, and then when it doesn't work out, they don't like get all bent out of shape about it. They just go, yeah, I did, but I wasn't the perfect person. I wish I'd been more ethical. But you know what? It's the way it was. And they move on. They don't feel that bad about it. So he will lie. That's a fact. Now we get to the really interesting thing over here. See this dude? Okay, so the night that Kathleen Peterson died, she apparently was up on the computer. She had to make some phone call. She left her laptop, so she was using his computer and talking to somebody for work. And on that computer, she was a huge amount of pornography, male pornography, and apparently a lot of stuff of homosexual trysts with guys in the military, and also emails to guys that he wanted to have sex with, also male prostitutes. He was emailing back and forth to male prostitutes to set up a date with them. Now, this is where the defense says this is not a motive, because first of all, they try to say, well, it's kind of homophobia type thing. This is not what it was about. It was about a relationship with his wife. What kind of relationship did Michael Peterson have with his wife, Kathleen? Now, I want to play you something, this is where the fascinating part goes. Well, here's what he said. Here's what he says. Infinite Jeff says she found out he was gay. Okay, that could be a problem if she didn't know it, right? Now, I want you to listen to it. And I say I didn't put this on here. I'm going to play this. I hope I'm going to get the video up here close enough. I'm going to play this video. I'm right in front of my microphone to see if you can. I hope you can hear it.
The word affairs is confusing to you?
Yes.
Let's make it simple then, sir. You had sex with other people after your relationship with Kathleen began.
That's correct.
Men
That's correct.
and women?
No.
Just men?
Yes.
So now this was different from when you were married to Patty Peterson?
Yes.
Okay. How many different men did you have sex with after you started your relationship with Kathleen Peterson?
Maybe 6.
Not sure?
Maybe 5. Maybe 7. Somewhere in that number.
In fact, you never talked about that with Kathleen.
Well, we did talk about it.
That you were having sex with other men during the marriage?
In the sense that, yes, she understood that.
She understood it was with men?
Oh, yes.
And you actually told her that?
it was simply understood again that, no, I think it would have been, for some strange reason, maybe been more upsetting to her if it had been other women. I think that might have threatened her more. I don't know. But in all the conversations that we have, all the jokings, every time we go to a military base, they're just like you. They're all gay. Look, they're all touching each other, patting each other all the time. I think that there was enough awareness on her part of me as a person and who I was, which is what made this relationship so good, that yes, she understood these aspects about me and was not bothered by that.
Oh, was not. I hope you heard that. Okay, so he's saying, here we have on the Netflix documentary, he's saying Kathleen knew. And yes, Nellie, he also, the son's, the son, no, but did the son not say Kathleen already knew? Yes, the son said that as well. Michael said that, and the son said she already knew. Okay, folks, here we go. You want to hear this? This is what's fascinating. In his book, what was the name of his book again? What was the name of his book? Oh, it's the name of his book, so you can see this for yourself. Behind the Staircase by Michael Peterson. I ain't making this shit up. Michael Peterson said this in his book. Now understand, he wrote this book. He decided what was going to go in this book. He wasn't under any pressure. He had time to think. Listen to what he said. You're not going to believe this. But I was wrong to deceive Kathleen. I didn't tell her. I cheated her of a deeper and more profound marriage. I know she would have accepted the truth because she was wise, understanding, generous, and loving. She loved me without restrictions or prejudices, and she could have brought me a peace that I had never had. Let me reread the beginning of it again. But I was wrong to deceive Kathleen. I didn't tell her I cheated her. And he cheated on her. I did not see that brought up anyplace. This is his words. In other words, over here, Netflix documentary, and to the police and to the courts, the dude lied. He lied that Kathleen knew he was bisexual, and she knew he was having affairs with men. Oh, as he puts it, not affairs, because that would be romantic. He was having sex with men. He lied to the court, to his defense team, to the public. He lied because in his own damn words, he says, I never told her. In his own book. Okay, so what does that mean? Yeah, you're right. Exactly. When did he write the book? Good point. After he got convicted. Afterwards. So this is what's interesting, is even after he got convicted, he finally says, okay, so I didn't tell her. Interesting, huh? Matthew says, wow, I didn't know this. Neither did I. And that's one of the reasons I love books written by people themselves, because now it's not somebody else's words. It's not under any pressure. It's not any other reason than he wanted to state this. And he stated she did not know. Holy crap, she did not know. If she did not know, and he was unwilling to tell her, that means he knew she would not accept this lifestyle. Now, I'm not going to judge. If there's a woman who says, all I want is a man who spends time with me. I want a companion. And I just, even if he doesn't have sex with me, and apparently they did have sex, but let's say the guy says, look, I just want a beard. You know what I mean? I want you to be my companion. Okay, something's gone wrong here. Okay, we're still here? Something just went weird on my thing. Hold on, I'm checking. Okay, I'm back, I think. Am I back, everybody? I had some weird connection issue. Am I back? No, that's not what he said. He did not say he talked to his wife, but he said that it was understood. That was not what he said. He said she knew. I take it. That's not true. She didn't just understand. He never told her. And that's the whole I'm back. That's the whole point. He never told her. And the reason he never told her because he didn't trust the fact that she wouldn't just walk out. So if you go into a relationship, before you even start that relationship, before you marry especially, you should tell that person. And if that person's willing to say, okay, look, I'm a middle-aged woman. I have a daughter who's, I'm just lonely. And hey, gay guys are cool. They like doing things like you can say it's just, well, everybody always says, I like shopping and cooking and cool, the films I like. Okay. It's stereotypical, but hey, if I like that, and that's what this dude's about, and he's going to be this wonderful husband and wonderful companion. Okay, so we don't have much sex, or we don't have any sex, or we have just sex when I feel like it. And meanwhile, he goes and has his guys on the side, and he uses a condom when he's with me, or we just don't have sex. I'm good with that. I'm okay. I don't judge on that. If you want to have that relationship, that's fine, because each person gets what they want. Clearly, he did not tell her. He did not tell her. So he was concerned that she would not be happy with that, because her last husband cheated on her. So with women, but her last husband cheated on her. And on the very night she ends up dead, those emails apparently she found, and all the pornography and everything he was about. Coincidence? Maybe, or maybe not. So that's really, really concerning. Yep, exactly. I do believe, Jeff, this is correct. She was on his computer. She found that out, and they had a fight. Now, there's some interesting things in Diane Fanning's book, and I cannot say they're absolutely correct. I don't know where she got them from. I don't know how she legitimized them. So I think Diane Fanning is an excellent author, true crime author, but it's not me, so I can't verify. But there's some stories in there where he does have a temper, where apparently he got angry at one of his dogs and almost killed it, beating it. And then later on, they found it a few number of days later or weeks later, found it dead in the pool. And he said it had a heart attack and drowned. That's a story. I don't know if the story is true. There are other stories which are in her book, which can make one think he might have a violent temper. Now, sometimes people who don't have a violent temper until their life is going to go to hell. In other words, they can put up with a whole hell of a lot, but when their life goes to hell, that's when they lose it. At this point in time, the finances were in trouble. If he lost his wife, if he kept his wife, essentially, if his wife found out he was with this dude, okay, and other men, and she said, I can't deal with that, I'm out of here, he would lose his source of income, everything he had, basically. And, and his whole, what they keep calling, he had what do they keep calling, an idyllic family life with all the 5 children, everybody gets along. He'd lose everything, quite frankly. So if he's going to lose everything, but if she ends up dead, A, he doesn't have to deal with her walking out of the marriage, and B, he collects one hell of all of her money and the house and the insurance and all that stuff, and comes out okay. Now, one could say, well, that's only if he gets away with it. And that's true. But a lot of times when people are very highly narcissistic, they think they get away with things. They just think it. They just like, okay, it's happened, I'm going to get away with it. Now, do I think it was, if it were him, do I think it was premeditated? And then my answer is only by 5 minutes. People don't understand premeditation. Premeditation can be guys sitting there for weeks going, I got to get rid of my wife. If I get rid of her, I'm going to be in better shape and I can get new younger broads. Okay. I get the insurance policy, younger broads, and I don't have to deal with her anymore because she's getting on my nerves. That's true long-term premeditation. But sometimes let's say she was upstairs. She found out about, oh my God, he's got a whole completely hidden gay sex life. He used to go to like YMCA like all the time and take a really long time to come home. And there's some things in Diane Fanning's book that say he was having a lot of fun at the YMCA in the certain hidden places. Anyway, he admits he at least had 6 sex trysts while he was married to Kathleen. And we know when people, it's like when, how many drinks have you had? Well, officer, I just had 2 drinks. Okay, let's multiply that by 10. So I'm going to say I doubt the 6. I'm going to say a whole shitload. He had a lot of trysts. And she found out about that with a massive amount of pornography and the emails. Now, her world is just crushed down on her because she didn't know. And she didn't come into this relationship with the determination that she was going to accept a bisexuality, that even if it was just another woman, would she accept that he was going to prostitute female prostitutes? Because this is an interesting point they always make. Okay, so he couldn't get from his wife what he wanted in his needs. In other words, he didn't mind having sex with his wife. He enjoyed that, but he also had this desire to be with men and have that kind of sexual activity. Okay, all right, so let's assume he was just with his wife, having a good time, but his needs for sexual activity that his wife wouldn't, let's say his wife didn't like anal sex. She wasn't into anal sex, but he really wanted anal sex. So he goes to a female prostitute, not a male prostitute, a female prostitute for anal sex. Is that okay? Would she be okay with that? Oh my, I know I'm not giving you all the kind of stuff you want, but you want some S&M, you want anal sex, you want this, you want that, and I won't do that. So I'm okay if you go to a female prostitute and get your rocks off that way. Would that be okay? Is that acceptable? Do you think most women would accept that? I'm going to say most women wouldn't accept either one of them unless they went into the relationship understanding that this is what the relationship was about. So she's up there. She finds this stuff out, and it's pretty obvious that she did find this stuff out. She comes downstairs and she says, "Hey, what the hell is this?" And at that moment in time, he realizes, she tells him, I can't be with you anymore. It's over. I can't be with you. I'm not saying this is what happened. I'm just saying this could be a scenario. And at that moment in time, this is where premeditation comes in. He doesn't want this to end the way she wants it to end. Now, if you have a rage issue, in other words, you're okay until somebody threatens everything about you. Rage and premeditation can come together in a very short period of time, where you decide, I can't live with this, and you grab something, and your rage takes you through and allows you to harm that person in order to stop, first of all, what they're saying to you, and also to prevent what they're going to do to you, which is leave you. And also, now you're going to end up in a much better situation if she's not there. Did that happen? I don't know. But accident doesn't look probable. The fact that he would make a lot of money and have to not deal with the fact that she's not too thrilled about his tryst with men, I'm going to say very likely. But okay. What? Okay. So, thank you very much. I meant to bring that up, Jeff. Thank you for this. A fracture to the thyroid cartilage in her neck too. That makes sense if he was holding her and bashing her head against the steps. Yes. One of the things people in a rage tend to do, if you look back to the Gabby Petito case, it's theorized that Brian Laundrie strangled her, and what happens is with people who have severe rage, if you don't have a narcissistic personality disorder or psychopathic personality disorder, you do not strangle people. I mean, I've never once in my life thought of grabbing somebody by the throat and choking the life out of them. I wouldn't do it, but when people become enraged, you have that mentality, they go for the throat. They do. That's where the term comes, go for the throat, because the throat is where your life stops, where your breathing stops. To grab you by the throat and slam your head into the stairway is not unlikely. Kind of works. Now, whether that was slammed and then another object was used, I don't know. The slamming thing is interesting because a lot of the lacerations are straight down, which would mean her head have to be kind of to the side on the stairs. But again, it's possible. Boom, boom, and then the lacerations go like that as opposed to straight across. Actually gives more, if you fall down the stairs, that more likely it would have been straight, horizontal and not vertical. So I'm going to go more with that. It's still a little awkward, but I'm not there and I can't see the staircase and I can't see how much room there is. If I were there, I'd do a crime scene reenactment and see if you could beat my head into the stairs and get the lacerations like this. So, but yes, the damage here doesn't happen from a fall. Sorry, guys, doesn't happen from a fall. That comes from grabbing somebody by the neck. Thank you for bringing that up, Jeff, because I meant to say that. John, Infinite Jest says, younger broads or younger bros? Either one of them. Either one of them. Yes, this is true. He had people believing he had a purple heart, which was a lie. He was a fiction writer, and I guess a tolerable one, because he sold books more than me. I'm jealous. And but yeah, he claimed he had things. And the thing is, you're a liar or you're not a liar. I mean, he like tosses off being a liar and says, "Oh, I wish I'd been more, honest earlier on, but you're still a liar, dude, and I still don't trust you." Okay, so now let's go to the owl. Martin says animals go for the throat too, which brings us to the owl. Okay. I'm going to go to the owl now. Okay, let me go to the owl. Oh, the owl. Owl, where are you, owl? Okay, so this is really fascinating, the owl issue. Because, okay, if you don't understand what happened during the actual trial, the prosecution said he beat her to death, and the defense said she fell down the steps. No owl. Later on, there was actually a neighbor who was a lawyer, said, hey, it could have been a barred owl. I think a barred owl killed her, or caused or started the problem that led to her death. Now, so what is this? See the barred owl? That's on my picture. Okay, if you don't know what a barred owl is like, I'm going to try to play this for you because it's really cool. I have it set up, I think. Okay, listen to the barred owl. Okay, that's a barred owl. Now, it's not the ooh owl that you think about. That's not the kind of barred owl that is. Hold on a second. I'm trying to. Okay, that's not. It's a ooh. It's not a little ooh owl. Barred owls, and I think it's white horned owls, are very large, kind of like we think of eagles. They're very big predator animals, and they can come down and attack you. Theoretically. Now, I'm going to tell you about my own personal experience of barred owls because it only happened once in my life. I was in my bedroom. I was sleeping. I woke up. It was like 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. And I lived in the same house for like 30 years, right? Never heard a barred owl in my area, which was in Maryland. And all of a sudden I wake up to that sound you just heard. Ooh, 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 ooh. I'm like, what the hell is that? It was like aliens were landing. I had no idea what it was. I was in a nightgown. At least I was wearing a nightgown. I didn't put on a robe because it was warm. And I ran out of the house into the front yard because there were a lot of trees. And I heard them in the trees. Ooh, and I was like, holy crap. And then they went down the road. They were mating and they were chasing each other. I couldn't really see them clearly, but I saw some bodies. And they were going down the road. And I remember running down my road and turning the corner and running down that road in my nightgown because I was so excited because I'd never heard barred owls. It's the weirdest thing I ever heard in my life. It was very loud and very incredible. There's something else. So, but the question comes in, was she attacked by a barred owl? And here's the theory on that. So you understand there's some legitimacy to the theory, although questionable. Okay, the idea is that she went out after they spent all this time by the pool, supposedly. Then she decided to go out into the yard to do something where he was not around, which makes no sense to me whatsoever. Like somebody said she was putting like reindeer up or something, and the owls mistook her for some kind of prey, which makes also no sense. The reason barred owls usually attack somebody is because you're near their nest and you're threatening their young. And I don't know why at this point in time they would think because she walked through the yard she was doing so. It's never been well explained. But theoretically, she's like going through the yard and doing something in the middle of the night for no reason whatsoever. And this barred owl swoops down and attacks her. The claim is the thing goes into her hair like this and then gets caught in her hair, which is a little interesting because usually you get caught in somebody's hair because it's really super curly and the the talons would have to get caught. But if your hair is just straight and like to here, I don't know how your talons are actually getting caught. So that doesn't even make sense to me. So anyway, supposedly this thing comes down and she tries to get him off of her. So she's like, ah, and she's trying to get this animal, this beast off of her, this bird, not animal, bird off of her. And it cuts into her scalp and causes bleeding and also causes her to get hair in her hands and theoretically some pine pieces. And also there's this microscopic owl feather, theoretically. Okay, so then the concept is she was outside. This happened to her. Now blood is coming down. She's getting like dizzy or something. She goes into the house and instead of going to where her husband is, she decides she's going to go up that staircase, you see, for reasons I don't know why. If you're hurt, you can go to a downstairs bathroom. You can go to the kitchen and try to put something on your head. You can call for your husband for help. But no, she decides to go up by herself up to her bedroom. And somehow that she's bleeding. And then she tries to get up the stairs. She falls because she's losing, like she's dizzy. She falls down, cracks her head a few times here and there, slips in the blood, and then tries to get up again, falls again. And that's when her husband eventually finds her. Okay, so what you have here, let me show you the picture that they have done. This is a very interesting picture. Okay, so here is a picture. Now, on this side, these are the lacerations into her skull. So you see this one. You see this one here. It's a laceration. Here's a laceration. These are supposedly caused by the stairs, but over here you see this one with the tri. You know, it's got three. I can't do it. Three things. And there is the. This is okay. There's the talon. Okay, this is what amateur people do. First of all, when you get lacerations, a lot of the lacerations will split into different, they split because your skin splits. So when you get something hits you, your skin splits into things like this up here. So what you do, if you're trying to make a point which has really no validity to it, is you find something like, oh, look, it looks like talons to me. Okay, so now we're talking about, hey, first of all, it's one talon. It's not many. It's not talons on both sides of her head. Where's the other talon? I'm like, if thing comes down, you think it would do this. Okay, we just got one talon. Okay, all of the reports, I've looked on the internet for reports on who got attacked by either one of these big owls, especially the barred owl, but all of the owls. I don't care what owl it is. And there are people who have been cut by an owl. The cow swooped down and basically scratched them. And they end up with some blood, like, you know, a little trickle down their face. That's it. A trickle down their face. The owl didn't continue to attack them. It just hit them one time. Okay, so let's say the owl came down, just hit her one time with 1 foot. Then she would have a trickle. She shouldn't be passing out from that. She should just be going, oh shit, and go into the house and put something on her head and hold it there and go out to her husband and say, damn, an owl just attacked me. I'm gonna say, if an owl attacked me outside my house, the first person I would tell in this wonderful idyllic relationship, I'd be running out right to my husband going, look, what the hell happened to me? An owl, can you believe it? An owl just came down and hit me in the head. But no, supposedly she's like bleeding to death from one owl strike. And then she's falling up the stairs and falling back, can't hold on to a banister. And of course, it's claimed that she is drunk, which she isn't. And I'm going to say this about people who drink. If they drink a lot, they know what a banister is or a handrail. They know, like, damn, I'm smashed. Grab the handrail. So somebody's making up this completely ridiculous story about that the one owl in the U.S. had ever killed anybody, because there was never been another owl who's ever killed anybody. Never any other owl. Now, some people have been cut and had to go get a couple stitches, but nobody has ever been brutalized by an owl so badly that they ended up falling on steps and hitting their heads. And again, from just a few steps up, bashing their heads in to get lacerations, not just collapsing on the ground. And then, you know, I'm like, seriously? Okay. You know, this is a little unlikely. Now, somebody says, well, where did that little microscopic owl feather come from? Well, if you got barred owls in your animal area, not animals, barred owls in your area, you're claiming they're all around, all kinds of barred owls, then I'm going to say you got microscopic barred owl feathers just floating around. They're there in your area because, most of us don't have autopsies that pick apart our hair. I don't know what the hell is in my hair right now. I don't. Could be cat fur. It could be a lizard scale because I have a lizard. It could be I've been outside. I was outside, in the backyard, and we do have owls outside. And we've got all kinds of interesting creatures. There could be all kinds of crap floating around. I don't have 5 barred owl feathers stuck to my hair. She didn't have a bunch. She wasn't. Here's the thing. Okay, here comes barred owl. Now, he's not just one time. He's like supposedly attacking her head. And she supposedly, that's why she ripped out her hair, is grabbing at her hair, trying to get the owl off of her. She doesn't have scratches on her hand from those big talons. She doesn't have feathers in her hands. She got nothing. This is what you call amateur. Let me see if I can come up with another reason. And that amateur attempt got carried all over the internet and even to the defense, who tried to then say, could have been a barred owl. No, dude, it's not a barred owl. It's either an accident or homicide. Accident or homicide. So I'm going to say we're going to go back to, who we got here. He either did it or he didn't. Not the owl. The owl has nothing to do with it. Michael Peterson, who had motive, and don't tell me he didn't, because he lied about his wife knowing about his sexual relationships, his infidelity, because it was totally infidelity. And, I don't know how much, he came home after those trysts and then had sex with his wife. There was some weird thing about a condom being near his bed, and he claimed that the police planted it. And I'm thinking maybe he just used a condom because he knew he'd just been with a dude and wasn't trying to bring home any diseases to his wife. So motive. His wife found out, wanted to leave him. Motive. His wife had a shitload of money, and once she left him, he would have very little. But if she died, he would have a lot. The motive is all in his court. He was the only person present when she died. There's no intruder. There's no evidence of an intruder. His stories don't quite line up properly. The evidence does not support an accidental death of her just falling down the stairs. There's definitely no owl. So let's get Mr. Owl out of there. There's no real evidence that she, for some reason, whatever she was drinking, caused her to the point of having problem going up the stairs. And right at the bottom of the stairs, she couldn't even control herself and fell down and had all these lacerations in her head. It's nonsense. It doesn't make sense. So in my opinion, everything points to a homicidal attack on Kathleen. The only person available was Michael Peterson, and the only one with motive was Michael Peterson. So I think it was a proper determination. I think the jury got it right this time, in spite of the very good defense. The defense put on a really good show. And that's what I want to point out about the Netflix thing. Man, what a show they put on. And they lost to a really bad show, which is kind of interesting, because I thought the prosecution was just, they had so many people on the prosecution side that just were unpleasant, and it just people you didn't really like. And on the defense side, they had really kind of cool people, and you wanted to like them. So the fact, in this case, a jury actually was able to come up with a solid, guilty on him. Shocked, absolutely shocked. But I think they got it right. And I'm not even adding in the German issue, which is interesting. Why another woman in his presence fell down the steps, or that he was the last person to see her fell down steps also. Even just getting rid of that, because I really just don't know. I mean, heavy evidence that he was guilty of this crime. He is now free to go about his business, but I'm going to read you the line just one last time, just because I think it's absolutely the most important line, because he clearly lied in the Netflix documentary. So when you go and look at Netflix documentary, that was in season 1, episode 2. It's called Secrets and Lies, and it is at the 21-minute mark. But I was wrong to deceive Kathleen. I didn't tell her I cheated. I cheated her. Yeah, and cheated on her. In direct opposition to what he said in the documentary. So if you think this man is a truth teller, no, he's not. He's a liar, a pathological liar. Quite more than once he has lied, and he deceives people. So I'm going to say he has the personality to commit the crime. And that's where I'll leave that. Let me look at some of your comments now. Let me maybe get rid of my owl. Oh, I'm not going to get rid of the owl. I'm going to leave the owl there. Okay. All right. Let's see what you have to say. All right. Okay. Oh, that's interesting. Nellie says, wow, the detail of her knowing has always weighed heavily in the balance for me. And it should. It should, because I say everybody has the right to accept a relationship under the conditions that they want to accept the relationship. That's okay. I mean, many people have unusual relationships because it suits them. And I don't object to that. I don't, his bisexuality doesn't matter to me. What matters to me is that his wife didn't know about it. And he said his wife did not know about it for many, many years. He had sex behind her back. He cheated on her. And that's a fact. So he's not an honorable dude. Okay. Michael Peterson did not testify. That's correct. I'm sorry. The court scene is part of the trial preparation. I'm sorry. That is absolutely true. This was a preparation thing for Netflix, but he said it. He didn't say it in court. You're right. He never testified because they knew if he testified, it wasn't going to be a good thing. The defense was smart not to put him on the stand. But he said that to his defense team. He said that on camera. He lied. All right, let's see. So what else you have here to say? Okay, I returned. This is it's a blurry picture. What the hell? Oh, well, Matthew's got a point. It's really sad that so many men of his generation didn't feel free to come out. But it's sadder yet again that a woman is a victim of male weakness. Yeah, yes. I mean, if he wanted to have the life he wanted, but the question is, what life did he want? He could have just been a single dude and had all the freedom in the world. But apparently he wanted another kind of life. He could have married a dude. I mean, even that, I don't know. Later, by the time all this went down, I think he could have just had himself a partner. But apparently he didn't want that. I don't know why he didn't want that. I have no idea. I don't know if it was because he wanted a particular image. I have no idea. But it's not. But regardless, it's unfair to your mate to lie to them and have pretense. Oh, this is a good point. Jeff points out there's no evidence of the evening they had. No fingerprints of Kathleen's glass on the wine glass. Fingerprints. Yeah. Well, it's funny. Remember when I said that when the people came, he said, oh, I just went out and came back in. But yet, supposedly, there's this whole thing about drinking wine. There's some evidence or theory, at least, that he poured wine down the sink in order to make it look like she was drinking. And that's interesting. Only reason I can't say too much because I can't see all the reports, and I'm getting this distorted Netflix documentary. Then I'm getting a more pro book from Diane Fanning, and not quite sure where the truth lies as far as the information goes. So I'm a little leery of saying this happened or that happened when I can't verify it. So, and this is a good point. Gene, he is a storyteller. Very good. He's a very convincing storyteller. And one of the interesting things about his book that he wrote after the fact, where he confesses to the fact that he never told his wife, is very, very emotional in that book. He's like, and then when they told me this, I was this emotional and I was that emotional. When you watch a Netflix documentary, you don't see that emotion at all. So I'm wondering, why is a Netflix documentary, which is actually happening at the time, not showing this massive emotion? But interesting enough, when he writes his book, it's a completely different story. He is a fiction writer. And let me tell you something about fiction in general. There's a lot of stuff in his fiction which is really interesting about killing and the enjoyment of killing and all kinds of like really interesting stuff. And let me tell you, because I have written a fiction book, it has nothing to do with me. A lot of times when people write fiction, they incorporate into that fiction their real life or their people they know in their real life. So if you look at my book, Only the Truth, which is linked below, my fiction book, the guy named Bobby, what is his name? Billy Ray. Sorry, I have a case where the guy's name is Bobby Ray, but he's a killer. Billy Ray in this story is a lovely, sweet man, and he is a combo of my ex-husband and a guy that used to rent in my house. They're like put together. And the woman, who is like an older woman, a grandmotherly type, is really sort of my mother-in-law. Not totally, because when you write fiction, what you do is you bring in characters, but then they change a bit. But there's a lot of things in fiction that come out of your own head. And so I don't write romantic stories because I'm not real good at romance. I don't write stories about rich people because I've never been really a rich kind of person. So I don't know. People say, why don't you write one of those books? Like, I shop at Walmart. I mean, I don't know what's Dolce. I can't even say that crap. You know, the fancy stuff that you buy for $1,000, Dolce, and somebody tell me. Anyway, one of those big designer people. I don't know anything about that. I don't shop in those places. I don't watch fashion shows. I go to Walmart because I'm lazy. You know, so how am I going to write a book that talks about, and then she went and she wore this wonderful gown? I mean, I can't do it. I can't do it because I don't understand it. He is writing what he understands. So when you read his fiction, you got to pay attention to what he's actually saying. It's kind of interesting. Let's see. What else you have to say? Yes. Had he, Anna says, had he been spending money on gay companions, I think the issue of homosexuality would be less hurtful than if her security was threatened. I'm not sure I even understand that. He was willing to spend a lot of money on. He wanted to meet, like the one he was trying to meet at the time. That dude cost a lot of money. I mean, you know, per hour it cost a lot, but if you want him for the whole night, it really cost you. He was a high, kind of a high escort type, and he charged a lot. So I don't know how much money he was spending on this stuff. When he says he only had 6 trysts, I'm going to say trysts during his marriage over quite a few years, more a decade, I'm going to say he's lying like a dog. I mean, I'm not saying he had to have sex every week, but I'm going to say he's having sex probably more than he's claiming to. And I don't know how many times he paid for that and how many times he didn't, and how he came across these people. But I would say that if she didn't know, she didn't know. And if he had to hide it, it's because he knew she would never accept it. So that bullshit of, well, if I'd told her, she would have accepted it. No, the reason you didn't tell her because you knew she wouldn't accept it. It's kind of obvious, but he's such a lying dog. He's a lying dog. Kate says, if he killed a dog, I think he could kill a person. You know, violence toward animals is very, very important. I don't know the veracity of this report. Okay, it's in Diane Fanning's book. Supposedly it happened that this dog, you know, they had that fountain in the pool. Remember they had that fountain. He supposedly had a fountain in the middle of the pool. Supposedly his dog like swam into the pool and grabbed the fountain, kept ripping up the fountain. He got pissed and he started beating the dog. And then somewhat later, and everybody was supposedly appalled and about him beating the dog. And then supposedly a little later, the dog ended up dead and floating in the pool. Not the same day, but days later. Now, again, I don't have proof of this report because I can't see it. It's in a book that was written by a true crime author who I respect, but I don't know. But there are people I have heard of in my life who I've known about, husbands of people that haven't gone to prison for anything, but I maybe didn't like terribly much and thought they were kind of psychopathic, and they killed animals, and they killed animals that were pets because the pets got annoying and were willing to kill them. That's usually a bad sign. It's really, really a bad sign, especially when you're killing the pets of your children, pets of your wife, somebody who loves those pets. It might be a different thing, I guess, if you had a pet of your own and the pet was a horrible creature like my cat. No. I love my cat, but he is a horrible creature. But, you know, if I kill my horrible creature, it might be better than if I killed my daughter's pet. You know what I mean? So neither one is okay. But if he killed an animal that his family loved, it's really concerning. And that does indicate somebody who is willing, who has a bit of a psychopathic personality, who doesn't have empathy and doesn't care about anybody else's needs but his own. And I wonder how much his family didn't see that in him, because he was a liar and he was a cheat. So I wonder how many he might have gotten he did take care of, some of, the girls that he didn't actually adopt them. That's another whole kind of crazy story, which you'll have to read about. There's some really weird stuff that went on there. So it's hard to tell where his needs, when he was fulfilling his needs, rather than somebody else's. And it may look like he was being kind, but maybe he's just fulfilling his own needs. And so maybe he's always had that personality, and people just never recognized it, especially his family. Kind of sad. Let's see what else you have to say here. This is true. An owl would not go for the throat. Raptors attack spines of their prey. If they make a kill, they generally tear into the abdomen. Yeah, the owl crap. Basically, the only thing that's ever happened with people is the owl swooped down and kind of like went like that on their head. That's it. Nobody went for the throat. No. So that's concerning. That area of the neck was damaged. So that's definitely concerning. Well, let's see. Okay. Oh, that's very nice, Anna. Sorry I have to leave, but we'll watch the rest tomorrow. Hey, the video will still be here. Love your presentation analysis. So Chris says super big owls in North. Is that Missouri? Okay. Yeah, we got some big ones around here too. I say the barred owls are here too, but and they're pretty cool. Let's see. Oh yes. Okay. This wasn't it. They did that test where you can't hear someone screaming from the pool. They did. And there's some objection to this particular test. First of all, that he was even at the pool. And yeah. The point being for me is that I don't think she would scream after the fact, after she'd fallen and cracked her head. Because I think once you've cracked your head open on the floor, you might not scream very loudly. But if you have been attacked by an owl and you're bleeding, but you're still perfectly okay, you could be, I would just go right out there to the pool and say, oh my God, Michael, I just got attacked by an owl. I don't see that I would be trying to get up to the room, falling on the floor and then laying on the floor going, help, help. I don't know. I think that's just one of those dumb defense things. Let's see. Okay. No, that's not true. The barn owls are massive. They always go for the head first. Head bleeds like crazy. And if you had an owl claws in your head at the top of the stairs, you might fall down them too. What the hell's the owl doing in the house? I'm sorry. The owl was not in the house. She was not in a barn. This is the steps going down to the kitchen. The owl's not in the house. I don't know who came up with the idea the owl actually entered the house. What is this? The owl is like following her? No, the idea was she was outside the house when the owl swooped down, attacked her, and then she went into the house, and then she attempted to climb up the stairs. So again, this is the stuff that defense makes up, and that people who want to ignore a huge amount of evidence then go to the owl. It's the thing where even if everything points over here, let's find something crazy that points to an owl. There's no validity to it, period. There just isn't any. And that's not true. The claw marks on her head, there weren't claw marks. There was one area where it had the skin split into 3 parts. And it's only one thing. If you actually put an owl up there, where all the other ones come from? And again, it just doesn't make sense. And this is, I mean, I know you want to believe what you want to believe, but I'm going to say it's nonsensical. Just nonsensical. Let's see what else we have here. Well, Jeff has a, if she carried the owl from the outside to the inside, there'd be way more than microscopic owl evidence. Yeah. So she's outside. Mr. Owl comes on her head. She's like, ah, and she's running into the house. She managed to open the door and carry Mr. Owl in, and she's still on this. And then how does the owl get out of the house? Why isn't the owl in the house? Flying around, like, you know how you get a bird in your house and just flies in and slams all over the place? Where's the owl? Nonsense. Absolute flaming nonsense. Let's see, we got, oh, that's an interesting one. Christine from Minnesota. Barred owls are less fierce and would rarely attack a human, even if they approach a nest site. And this is actually true. So, you know, talk about probabilities. It's like, the probability of getting attacked by a rhino in this area and Maryland is pretty low because there are no rhinos outside. There just aren't any. They kind of are in Africa. Now, I admit that one time in my life, there was an actual rhino in the road in Virginia when I was going to my parents' house because it had gotten loose from a zoo, but nobody died. The rhino didn't kill anybody. It was gotten loose from the zoo, and immediately the word went out, and the police were there. And we were late to my parents' house because of a rhino in the road, which was a really interesting excuse. My parents didn't believe me until they watched the news. But those were the days we didn't have a cell phone. So like, why isn't she here for dinner? You know, why is she late? It's like, because there was a rhino in the road. Yeah, okay, whatever. They thought I was a liar. But then they watched the news. And they was like, oh, sorry. But again, it's such a rarity, such an incredible rarity. So what you're doing is you're taking the barred owl, which is rare to attack anybody, and it has to be under circumstances that are exact circumstances. And then there's no evidence that any barred owl has killed anybody or caused such severe damage. None of this is true. So you're taking something, could it be the 1 out of 1 million thing that this one barred owl happened to swoop down on her, cause enough damage that for whatever reason she started getting dizzy and losing consciousness, didn't tell her husband about it, tried to go upstairs, fell down the stairs, and somehow whacked all these lacerations in the back of her head from 3 stairs up. It's just nonsense. It's nonsense. Oh my God, just nonsense. No, not in the, wasn't artery repair. From what I can say, when you have head wounds, they bleed profusely. They can bleed profusely, but you know, when you have a lot of head wounds, then they bleed more profusely. So we're not talking about just one scratch. We're talking about severe damage. Gay porn sobered her up. Well, it might have done that, you know. Ow. Ow with a box cutter. Those can do some damage, you know. And again, if you even had a box cutter and cut one slash in your head, that's a kind of interesting point. Let's assume somebody did one slash. Again, I just don't think that you know, the rest of the story after that doesn't work out for me. You go to your husband and say, look what happened to me. You go into the kitchen and try to stop it. I don't know what you're doing, falling off of stairs. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. No, the answer to that is no. There's no owl flying around the damn house who then found a way to get out. No. Oh, okay. I like how Jeff is pointing this out. It took her a long time to die too, 90 minutes to 2 hours. Now, there's an argument over that. And this thing called, let me see if I can find it for you, because it's kind of one of these very, let's see if I can find it. It's one of these very, let me see if I can find it. Hold on. Where is it? It's about the neurons. Okay, here we go. It's a little confusing. So let's see if I can find it. Okay, so the red neuron issue. These red neurons revealed an ugly truth about the death of Kathleen. Because of their existence, it was apparent that she did not die quickly. It took her 2 to 4 hours. She lay on the stairs all that time with the blood draining from her body. As she bled out, the blood flow to her brain decreased, depriving it of oxygen. Without this vital nutrient, a gradual process of death began. As her brain cells died, the red neurons were born. The process was slow and it was widespread. The time it took the red neurons to develop provided plenty of opportunity for Michael Peterson to get help for his injured wife. 2 to 4 hours was more than enough time for premeditation to exist. And this was as she bled, the blood flow to her brain decreased, depriving it of oxygen. And that's when the brain cells die, the red neurons are born. This is hard for almost all of us to understand unless you study forensic pathology. It makes it very difficult. And when you present this in court, the jury's like, huh? They have no clue what you're talking about, because when you're a forensic pathologist, you have a thing before your name, which is called doctor, which means you went through 10 years of whatever medical school or whatever you're doing to become this, not medical school. What are you going through? I guess you take forensic, I forgot how this all works. You go through bachelor's, and then you go into master's in forensic pathology, and then you get a PhD in forensic pathology, not medical school, but I don't know how that even works. It's been a while since I've looked into that, because I actually thought, maybe I'd like to do something like that. But anyway, whatever it is, go look it up. You're there in damn school a long time studying all of this stuff, and the jury is sitting there going, I know what a Band-Aid is. I know what blood is. The rest of it, I don't have a clue. Now I got to look up. What is that? Sorry. Now I just feel like a moron. So I got to look up, like, what forensic pathologist, what is the requirement for the degree for forensic pathology? For forensic pathology, like to get a doctorate in it. Forensic pathology. I wonder what that is. Okay. Let's see what it is these days. I think there's different levels of it. A forensic pathologist must first earn a bachelor's degree, then a medical degree. Okay, I was right. Either an MD or a DO. Okay. So you got to do clinical, you got to do forensic. Okay. I kind of couldn't remember whether you could just go through with like forensic science type things. But anyway, there you go. They know a whole lot about red neurons, and we absolutely know nothing. So it's very hard for us to understand any of that. But according to the report, she died slowly, not quickly, slowly. So unless Peterson sat out on the back, about by the pool and smoked a really long, he had a pipe, he liked pipes. Unless he sat there and smoked for an hour or so, and had no clue his wife was dying at the bottom of the stairs. I guess that could happen, but it doesn't really match the stuff. So there you go. So Nellie said, I really wanted it to be the owl. Isn't it? It's a really fantastic theory, or fantastical, depending on how you want to look at it. So what is this? At least one historic axe murder victim was said to have torn out her fist full of her own hair before her death due to pain. Yeah, that's an interesting point, because that has been brought up as to why she would have grabbed her hair. When somebody beats your head, blood is pouring down your head, you're in agonizing pain. Your hair, pulling out your hair is way less than the actual pain in your head. So the fact that yeah, absolutely, that can happen. So I don't think it's particularly unusual that she would have done so. So, yeah, absolutely. Let's see what Judge says. And Lisette says, it sounds like she was injured and dying on the steps for quite a while before the police were called. There's a whole bunch about the drying of the blood, blood that was coagulated and drying and whatever. And the problem is, supposedly, and again, this is, I didn't spend 200 hours on this case. I spent as much time as I was willing to spend. If the police reports do not mention it, police reports should have mentioned when they arrived exactly what they saw, and supposedly they didn't mention the blood issue. It was the EMTs that mentioned the blood issue about, dried blood on the clothing, dried blood on the floor, not fresh blood on the floor. So the concept is that she died way before he called 911. And if that's true, then I think that what we're talking about, she got that phone call supposedly somewhere around 10:30 or so-ish. And if hell went, everything went to hell about 11 o'clock or so, there's a lot of time before that phone call. And she had things to do in the morning. So was she really up that late before she supposedly went out in the yard and had a fight with an owl and came back in and fell up the stairs? I mean, really? So it is very likely that if a rage attack occurred when he realized, his wife was going to leave him, all hell was going to go, he's going to be broke, and he killed her, then he's trying to figure out what to do. And he's got time to figure out what to do with it. So if he had a weapon, like this kind of weapon, he had time to wash the weapon, time to get rid of the weapon, time to give it off to his son and have his son take it far, far away. He had time to do things, although the scene looks rather confused. So no mastermind when it comes down to that. If he killed her, he wasn't a mastermind of how to cover up after a murder. And this is not unusual. So many men who have killed their wives try to stage like sexual homicide or whatever they try to stage. And they do such a terrible job of it because they just really don't know what the hell they're doing. And they're very emotional at the time too. You're freaked out. I mean, it's not like you're like, oh, good, look what I've done. No, you're freaked out. You're like, oh my God, she's dead. She's in my house. She's dead. What am I going to do? I'm going to get arrested. My kids are going to hate me. What am I going to do? How can I make it look like I didn't do it? I don't know. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And then and half the time you're like, that doesn't even make sense because you're so emotional. So for that reason, you have to take a little bit of a grain of salt of how well he could control a crime scene if he actually did it. So this is okay. This is Marco. I know you're totally believe that he is innocent. I can see this from everything you've said. You believe that the owl did it and she fell up the stairs. I can see that. I had a poker here in my fire. If I whack someone there, the skull would be mush. I get your point. But the poker is solid, and the blow thing is not. And this thing I have here also is not solid. And you can do, ow, Jesus. Everything's gone blurry. I think that's because I hit myself in the head with that. You can do damage and cause lacerations without damaging the head. But this is the whole point, though. Okay, so Marco, you're saying that the owl attacked her and she was walking up the stairs. She slipped and kept hitting her head. And those blows to her head hitting the stairs caused her death. Then why is it he can't hit her head on the steps and cause that death? I'm going to say, if someone started hitting her head on the stairs, it was not the cause of the owl and herself falling. It would be him hitting her head on the stairs. So I still can't come up with how she fell and did that damage to herself. Let's see what Benny says. Pat, you always point out that you can never believe what killers say, even their motives for killing. So now that we know that MP Michael Peterson is a liar, can we trust his book when he says he deceived her? Absolutely. Yes, because that's something he would not admit unless at that point he feels it's worthwhile admitting. So what a killer usually does is only admit things when, or a psychopath, only admit things when he already knows you know. In other words, it kind of figures out you already know, or it's going to benefit him. So they don't usually lie in a way that would not benefit them. You know what I mean? So at some point here, after he already got convicted, he feels like he can now say that he didn't tell her, and that he wished he had, because then she would have absolutely believed him. So yeah, so you're right that they could theoretically go the other direction, but that's not usually the way it works. Usually they go from lies to truth more than truth to lies. Yeah, that's usually the way it works. Matthew says, Dolce Gabbana. Thank you very much. Heck, I only buy fancy saris and salwar kameezes. I love Indian clothes. I'll buy those fancy things. This I buy off of Amazon because I'm lazy. So I don't do the Dolce thing. God. Okay. What makes no sense? Okay. Carrie says, I could see an argument that escalated what makes no sense. And I don't know what the rest of that is. Okay. Lori says she just got here. Angela says the poker theory was challenged as it lay in the garage with dust and cobwebs on it. He must have used something else which was disposed. What he used, I have no idea. The blow poke, it wasn't a poker, it was a blow poke. It's a different thing. A poker is a straight, hard object. A blow poke has that empty, the channel down the middle, which is a little less, if you smash somebody in the head with it, it's a little less damaging. They did find a blow poke that was full of cobwebs that was found by the family. That doesn't mean it was the blow poke. So theoretically, he could have had another blow poke. Just because her sister gave her that blow poke doesn't mean he liked that blow poke, or it didn't get lost in the garage and they bought another blow poke. These people had a shitload of money. They had lots of money. They loved shopping all the time. So it doesn't mean that there couldn't have been a different blow poke that was at the fireplace than that. I would like to see a little bit more about what was in the different rooms, because here's what people usually do. They don't usually work overtime finding something to kill somebody with when they're in the middle of an argument. They find whatever is nearby. So, you look for whatever you can grab that's nearby. I got this. Okay, I got a brush here. I can whack you with the brush. I got this thing here. I can whack you with this. I'm unlikely. I mean, there's stuff down over in the garage. I'm unlikely to go all the way down to the garage to find a tire iron. Or got to my car and open up the, trunk and try to get something to beat somebody with. I'm not going to do that because I'm in the middle of rage. I'm going to look in my kitchen. If I'm standing in my kitchen, there's something I can grab in my kitchen, like a rolling pin. I'll hit you with a rolling pin. So I want to know what was around that he could have used. And if enough time went by, what could he have gotten rid of? Some people suggest he could have used a branch, which I thought was an interesting concept, because the outside, could he have grabbed some kind of or even next to the fireplace? If you have wood, for example, you could have a heavy branch, which you could whack somebody with, and maybe she gets some little, some of the little twiggy things that they said she had. You could whack her with that, and then you could toss it in your yard and get rid of it. I don't know. I think that was one of the prosecution's frustrations. They focused in on the blow poke because they thought he should have that there, and the family said he should have that there, and it was missing. They thought that was a good weapon, and they focused in on it. And so whether it was or whether it wasn't, I do actually not know. So no, nobody cares, Lori, if he's gay. But the fact that his wife did not know that, and that would influence their relationship, that's what's important. I mean, a lot of people may have secrets, and they may or may not influence our relationship. Let's say, for example, you marry somebody and you want to have their first child. Oh, you're so happy you're pregnant with their first child. And then you find out they got 3 other babies someplace else. 3 other women with 3 other babies. Is that enough to piss you off? Well, maybe, because he's a liar, and B, if you wanted to find a man who you could marry and have your first child with, and he didn't damn well tell you there was another child out there, then you're not having the first child with him. He's taken away your dream. He's taken away what you wanted to have, this one, this little father, mother, baby thingy you wanted to have. He's ruined your dream, and he's a lying dog. That can piss you off. So an honorable man would tell a woman he's messing around with, he'd say, I just want to let you know before we go further, I have 3 children out there by 3 different women. If that's a real issue for you, maybe we should stop this. How about if you are HIV positive? I mean, the person has a right to, the person you're having a relationship has the right to know you're HIV positive. And then they can say, look, because A, they want to make sure they take precautions to not get HIV themselves. B, that if they want to have a baby there, how are you going to do that without getting, taking risks? Also, the possibility that the HIV would progress and, you would not survive. I had a lovely friend who died of AIDS, and it was a really, really sad situation. And she was HIV positive. Her husband accepted that. They ended up having 2 children, but she did end up dying years later of AIDS. Her husband, though, knew. He accepted where she was, what had happened, and accepted her. And that's his right to do so, but it's also his right to know. So I think that anybody can go into a relationship. You can say, hey, I want to let you know I was in prison for 10 years. That's meaningful to somebody who wants to get into a relationship with somebody. And you shouldn't marry the person and find out they've got a criminal record a mile long. That's not right. There's things that aren't right. You should know, anytime you're in a relationship, you should know what comes before, because what comes before may have a lot to do with your relationship as it progresses. So you're going to tell me that Kathleen if she didn't know he was bisexual and was having sex with men, she had known that to begin with, she could have made that choice. But if she finds out later on that this guy's been sneaking around behind her back, he's not the man she thought she married. And that's the important point. So, okay, I'm going to ignore some of these things because they're similar. I'm going to see if there's anything else, because I have a family dinner to go to in about 2 minutes. So I'm just going to see if there's anything else you said that is just awesome. Oh, Scott has come. Well, nice Scott from Louisville, Kentucky. Cool. All right. How can you make jokes about a woman being beaten to death? I'm not. Oh, that's okay. I'm not going to comment on people joking here. Sorry. It's an unfortunate thing about a woman being beaten to death. That is true. Really? Oh, Roberta Glass. Oh, okay. Roberta, I'm trying to remember some of the stuff. We did a couple things together, and I can't remember. It's been a long time. So, wow, that's a long time. So, Martin says you can have a humor about anything, Lena, no offense intended. And I just want to say, Lena, I understand where Martin's coming from. I understand where you're coming from. I've been in this business long enough to have what is called the black sense of humor about things. I also very empathetic toward victims and families of victims, but I've also done profiling for years. And, you get the point where sometimes you toss out humor, which isn't appreciated by some. And I understand where your heart is at. So I just want to say that. But Martin, I also understand where you're at, because probably I'm very similar to you in that, because I've been in this for a really long time. Oh, well, I don't know. Hannah says, whoever started the owl did it defense started any joke about this tragic death. I mean, it's a heck of an interesting theory. It just doesn't hold water. And, this is what I want to point out, how often the defense will go to come up with every theory they can come up with. They'll throw things at the wall, hoping something will stick, and hoping the jury will become confused, or hoping that they'll get an appeal based on it could have happened, and that's the way it works. And that's why I think the Netflix documentary was fascinating, in the sense that you see the entire way the defense is working behind the scenes, which tells me, again, we should have professional juries and not civilian juries, because this is nonsense. The amount of money spent, the amount of effort trying to figure out what the jury is going to do, the amount of experts you're trying to bring in to confuse the jury. If you got rid of the civilian jury system and you had like 5 professional jurors, first of all, you should have the media shouldn't. There should be just the media shouldn't be allowed to even discuss this, and that's done in some places where they just simply stop that nonsense. So what you have is the case is going to go to court. There's no talk about it in the media, and then it goes into the court with what would be a professional jury or judges, and none of this nonsense will be going on, because there's no reason for it, because people there have some credibility as far as being able to analyze. And then you just sit there and they present what they're going to present, and you figure it out, and that's the end of it. But this whole dog and pony show that goes on in some of these trials is just ridiculous, and we need to stop it. But it's hard to change a system that's been in play in the United States for a very, very long time. So anyway, now that's true. Need dark humor to survive this awful work. That is probably true. I think so too. Oh, I'm going to start that. Okay, I'm going to end with Lisa. Thank you, Pat, for a great show as usual. Enjoy your dinner. Thank you very much. It's a big family dinner, so we are going to enjoy it. So we've had Thanksgiving. Now we're going to have the family dinner, so it's all cool. So I'm going to head up there. It's going to be delicious. My ex-husband is actually cooking it, so hey, I can get along with him. He's cooking Jamaican food tonight, and he cooks really, really well. I miss his cooking. And he also can iron. I miss his ironing too. So there you go. That's where I'm at these days. So anyway, I will see you if you're part of Patreon. I'll see you on Thursday at 4:00. I'm going to do my hangout this Thursday at 4:00. I want to mention this again. People keep saying, "What? It was a live hangout. Why didn't I get any notification?" Only if you're joined Patreon for the level 3, then you get the notification. I do the hangout with only a small group of people, and then after it's done, then I make it public. So I'm not trying to leave you guys out of it. It's just these are my super, super supporters trying to keep this channel alive. And also, it's nice to have a small group which I can focus on people, and we have a good time together. So if you want to do that, join below. Otherwise, you get to watch the rebroadcast, shall we say. Actually, it's the first broadcast, but it's done privately, and then it's made public. So again, like the channel, subscribe, share with people, and join Patreon. And I'll see you next week with another show. So till then,